Welcome to Wide Real News. Thank you for tuning in to our channel, where we bring you the most accurate and detailed updates from around the world. Before diving into today's in-depth analysis, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications to stay informed with our premium content. Now, let's get started. Mozambique cracks down on protests over election disputes. The political landscape in Mozambique has grown increasingly turbulent after the October 9, 2024 presidential election results. Protests led by supporters of opposition leader Venancio Mondlane erupted across the nation after the National Electoral Commission announced, on October 24, that Daniel Chapo of the ruling Frelimo party won with 70.67% of the vote. Mondlane secured only 20.32%, sparking widespread allegations of electoral fraud and claims of suppression of the opposition. As of November 6, the protests have resulted in 27 fatalities, significant economic losses, and deepened the political divide in the country. In response, Mozambique's Interior Minister, Pascal Rwanda, declared a ban on demonstrations, labeling them acts of terrorism due to the escalating violence. Government stance, protest or terrorism? Minister Rwanda's statement painted a dire picture of the unfolding crisis. This is no longer a protest, it is a campaign of destruction and terrorism. It's frightening the public and disrupting their livelihoods. That woman selling bananas. She can no longer sell. People cannot go to work. This is terrorism. According to Rwanda, the protests are orchestrated by groups that exploit vulnerable youth, including those under the influence of drugs, to incite violence and destabilize the nation. The government has doubled down on efforts to restore order, deploying security forces in major cities to quell demonstrations. A nation in turmoil. Human Rights Watch has documented the severe consequences of the crackdown. The death toll of 27 includes both protesters and civilians caught in the crossfire. Reports indicate that security forces used live ammunition to disperse crowds, raising concerns about excessive use of force. In addition, Mozambique's private sector is bearing the brunt of the unrest. Agostinho Vuma, president of the country's business association, highlighted the significant impact. The protests have cost businesses and investors $354 million. Small enterprises are closing their doors, and international investors are reconsidering their engagements. Voices from the ground. In the streets of Maputo, protesters remain defiant despite the ban. Many expressed their disillusionment with the electoral process and the state's heavy-handed response. Maria, a mother of 3, described her struggle. "We are fighting for a better Mozambique. My children deserve a future where their voices matter. But now, I fear for their safety every day." Jose, a taxi driver, lamented the economic toll. "No one is calling for riots. People are scared to leave their homes. I can barely afford to feed my family now." Others, however, urge for peace and dialogue to avoid further casualties. Opposition's response. Venancio Mondlane has accused the government of election fraud and intimidation. Speaking to supporters, he vowed to continue the fight for democracy. "We will not be silenced. The people of Mozambique deserve free and fair elections. This struggle is for our nation's future." Mondlane's party has also called for international observers to investigate the alleged irregularities, urging the African Union and the United Nations to mediate the crisis. The current state of protests. As of now, major cities like Maputo, Beira, and Nampula are under heavy security surveillance. Reports suggest sporadic clashes between protesters and police, with some neighborhoods described as no-go zones. Businesses are shuttered, schools remain closed, and public transport has ground to a halt in affected areas. Meanwhile, international organizations and civil society groups are calling for restraint from both sides. A joint statement from Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch urged. The Mozambican government must respect the right to peaceful protest while ensuring the safety of its citizens. At the same time, demonstrators should refrain from acts of violence. A nation on the brink. The ongoing unrest highlights the deep fractures in Mozambique's political system. The dominance of the Frelimo party, which has ruled since independence, continues to fuel resentment among opposition supporters. This crisis has underscored the urgent need for electoral reform, greater transparency, and inclusive governance to prevent further conflict. Subscribe to Wide Real News for more updates. As Mozambique grapples with its most significant political crisis in recent history, Wide Real News remains committed to providing you with accurate and balanced coverage. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications to stay updated with our latest reports. Together, let's continue exploring the stories shaping our world.